Hello and welcome to A Celtic World, the channel and podcast that unites the worldwide fan base of Celtic. From Arden Capel to Abu Dhabi, Coatbridge to Copacabana, wherever you're watching from, you're part of A Celtic World. Now, I hope you can hear me because there's torrential rain going on behind me, so I can hardly hear myself. But we will carry on regardless and say hello to who else is part of A Celtic World. Brian in Ireland. How's it going, Brian?
Not too bad, Cal. Good to see you. Good to see you on the road to recovery after your little accident.
Yes.
Which the viewers will be all enthralled about. No, again, talking about the weather, it's chucking down here in Ireland, so I feel your pain.
Yes, I had a little motorbike accident, but everything's fine. I'm very well. I hurt my foot and needed stitches and the like, but not the end of the world. I see people in the comments actually sharing some stories, and just wanted to pass our condolences. Well, not condolences, but wish all the very best. I think it was Michael was talking about some issues he had with his mum's health recently. So wishing you and everyone in the comments and everyone at home and everyone watching A Celtic World all the very best. And indeed, Ian, all the very best to you in Wales.
Hello, yeah. No rain here. Bitterly cold, but it's sun is shining in the Costa del Cardiff for a change. So not quite shorts weather, but I'm sure the Cardiffians will give it a go if it's anything to do with their track record. One of the first things I noticed when I came down here was if the sun is out, the flip-flops and the shorts are out. Doesn't matter if it's sunny and snowy, they'll be in that attire. So.
Okay, well, Bill is supposed to be joining us, but I don't know where he is, I have to say, so he may be a late entrant. I better say hello to everyone in the chat. Pam, Pork Chop Express, 420, Plunge McNugget, Stuff, who's going to be coming on the show quite soon. Frank Brennan, Who's the Snitch, Patrick McLaughlin, Monty, and loads of others, Alex. Probably missed a few names there, but everyone who's watching, you're very welcome. And just a quick message for you. Is your boiler on its last legs? Well, that's no concern of ours because we don't have advertisers. So if you appreciate watching a podcast or a YouTube channel, it doesn't try and sell you anything. Maybe that's something to consider when considering whether to subscribe or not. Okay, so what we're going to be talking about today, here is the agenda. First of all, I want to gauge your general mood. Secondly, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the victory away to Dundee, for that is what it was, believe it or not. We won an away match at Dundee. We wouldn't know that to see some of the negativity knocking around, but anyway, we'll get into that in due course. I'm sure Ian is here to offer a counterweight to my relentless positivity. Third, we're going to be talking about our takeaways from that in terms of players and going forward. Fourth, if Bill does indeed show up, we're going to be talking about his CSC and some of the players that have dropped by over the years. And finally, Celtic socials. So that's what's on the agenda. Let us know in the comments if everything's fine in terms of sound. Anyone needs volume? The volume turned up. I have absolutely no idea what's happening. I can hardly hear myself. The sound of the rain and the tin roof. Like, I live in the rainforest, basically. So there's a deluge. I'm sure there's water just gushing down the streets. But that's none of your concern. You want to hear about other people's emotions. Well, let's start with the very calm, placid Brian, who's never gets his feathers ruffled. How are you feeling after the last couple of games involving us and them?
No, I'm in a very good place, very positive about everything, and I did something yesterday that I would never do. I sort of listened to Rangers on the radio. I just sort of looked at the match, and then I was just started listening to it on there. You know what I mean? I don't really get involved in what they do, but no, in terms of us, we're in a great place. It's all about the 3 points at the end of the day, getting the 3 points and not worrying really what they're doing. And that just the game without analysing the match. No, I'm very, very happy with everything, the way everything's going. I couldn't see us losing that game yesterday. Even whenever Ida had the own goal, I still was confident that we'd see it through. And I love Joe Hart time wasting. That was fun. But no, I really think we're in a good place. The manager has everything, every nook and cranny looked at, and we're very, very prepared for the next remaining few games. So very happy with everything.
Wow. I'm gonna wager that the same cannot be said of Ian.
Well, I mean, I think kind of there's a bit of me that's wondering why I'm not used to that kind of performance by now, considering that is a very typical Celtic performance for the whole of this year. I think the stakes are just a bit higher. I've seen a lot of people say, win the next two and the league's won, which is, barring like a massive goal swing, that's probably correct. And I think for me, I would just like to win those two games, get out the way at this stage. I mean, I'm sure I'll get up for it, but at this stage, I couldn't even care less about the cup final. I would just like to get this league secured and just, breathe and relax and look forward to next season, because I'd love to be like you, Brian, but I'm finding it tough going. I see when we were 2 up, I was saying we need 3, because I just know the capacity for that team to ship goals. And when Ida let it go, I mean, I shared something in our group chat. Dundee had 4 big chances to our 1 or 2. It was a tough game. So I would like to be more positive. I'm kind of tempering being either positive or negative. I think there's a lot of things we could call out as negative. I think there's a lot of things that we could say are maybe positive or mitigating excuses. But at the moment, for me, it's just getting through. Just getting through. That's kind of how I feel. Just get through these games.
Okay, well, let's ask Bill. How does he feel?
I think, sorry I'm late there. I don't know what happened. I lost the wee link to the chat there, Gav. It's my fault, no your fault. I don't know what happened. I sent you a few photographs. I don't know if you got them. Yeah. Okay, thanks. How do I feel? I was in nervous wreck watching that game until the second goal went in. And I thought, that's it. We're okay. I sat back, let out a breath and said, that's great. That's us. We're going to win this easily. And then the wee man hits the bar, and I think there's another goal coming. And guess what? We know what happened next, right? So Big Ida swipes at the ball and it hits the net. So I'm in a state of absolute panic after that. And I'm afraid that's going to be how it is for now to the end of the season.
Exactly. I'll tell you how I feel. I think we are pretty shite.
I think so too.
And it's okay to support a shite team. Most football fans do, And it's okay to enjoy the successes of a shite team. Not playing great, but getting 3 points. That's the most that most football fans can hope for. So, I've given up. I've come to terms, Ian, with the fact that
we are not most football fans, Gav.
Exactly. But I've come to the terms that we're crap this year. We're going to be crap until the end of this year, most likely. And next year is such an entirely new story. Mm-hmm. I think there's going to be turnover of players, the likes of which none of us can conceive of. And that the team that starts next season is going to be so different that the only thing we can do is live in the moment.
I think you're right. I think the thing for me, I never said when you asked me the question, was I don't think we're shite. I think we're inconsistent. And we're inconsistent during matches. We've got periods where we're really good, and then we're really bad. We go from really good to really bad quite quickly during the match, which is something which I wasn't brought up with. I haven't seen for a long time with a Celtic team. You get a good half and a bad half, but we seem to have good 10 minutes, bad 20 minutes. and the same thing repeating. And it seems to me that I don't know why we can't harness that good performance for a longer period in a game. And that's what worries me as we go into this season. As I say, I don't think we're shit. I think we're very inconsistent, and it's a worry,
Well, so we're not great, but the good news is that nobody else is very good either.
True.
Did anyone watch any of the Rangers game?
Yes, I watched the last 10 minutes. And St Mirren should have scored maybe even twice.
Yeah, I think they deserve at least a point.
Well, there's some real good chances, Gav. But seeing the last 5 minutes, they had the guy had a shot for like the 6-yard line and managed to hit a Rangers player instead of finding a corner of the net. It was that close. There was another chance after that, pretty similar. And they just looked there for the taking. I'm not worried about them. I'm honest, I'm not worried about them. I'm more worried about how we go against Hearts on Saturday, which I'll be at, by the way. I'll give you a match report. I'll bet that on Saturday.
Yeah, you're going. Brilliant.
I'm going on Saturday, but I can't get to the Rangers game because guess what? My wife's cousin's getting married that day at 1:00. So we're going to the wedding.
Inconsiderate.
Well, it is, I think.
Well, as you may have heard, Butland made some good stops. Somebody's phone's pinging. Put it on silent, please. Butland made some good stops. One really incredible point-blank one. Don't know if you've seen that yet. But like an instinctive, everybody thought it was a goal.
No, the only clip I've seen, Gav, is one of Butland karate kicking someone, which would be, I mean, we get 2 red cards for that. I genuinely have lost count of this season because people point to like statistics of like how many reds and yellows and stuff like that. But like for like, I'm not sure there are many teams in the league outside of Rangers that their goalkeeper can make that sort of challenge, which is classed as dangerous, and escape a red card. And I think that was like 84, 85 minutes. So it was like in the closing of the game, but it's what we kind of come to expect. But it's just odd that there's been so many of these things, and it's just no one in the media seems willing to just pick it up because it's stark across. There's one team and the decisions for the rest. So,
well, let's not go down that rabbit hole at the start of the show. Let's turn our attentions to our game. Before we do, did anybody see Nicholas Kuhn's pre-match press interview?
Yes.
Well, I think you'll agree that he sounded like he wasn't terribly impressed with the quality of the questions he was asked by the associated folks of the media. Here's a little thing that illustrates that.
Absolutely.
In the place, just given the manner that you won the game at the weekend.
Of course.
Do you feel that every single week you're getting stronger with the more game time that you're getting?
Yeah, of course.
Do you watch Rangers in your free time? Do you have a small eye on what they're doing?
Of course.
Does that help that you've been at some kind of big clubs where that's that kind of attitude that's instilled in you?
Of course.
Do you think it's embarrassing that so few of the Scottish mainstream press here are capable of asking an open question?
Yeah, I think of course.
I think the question about do you watch Rangers, that was actually a guy for the Celtic Exchange that asked that question. I was quite surprised that I'm asking that. Do you watch Rangers? I think he was trying to get the point of do you worry about your rivals? Well, no.
Okay, here's another question for you. We all call it Dens Park, but that's not the official stadium name. Who can tell me what Dundee's stadium is called?
Barry's Boiler Stadium or something. Barry's Boilers, or like Blue Dot Insurance, or
I'm going to go for a straightforward Dundee Park.
No, it's a sponsor.
Is it really? I don't know.
I'm just waiting to see if anyone in the comments is going to come up with it. But the answer is it's the Scott Foam Stadium. Did you see that all around the stadium? Scott Foam, which is a company that makes this sort of stuff. It's very satisfying to watch, isn't it? Don't you love it? Don't you love seeing that
Oh,
applied?
that's good, aye. That's that insulating foam, yes.
Yeah, they should have put that on top of the pitch, really, shouldn't they? In that, and then playing that surface or something, isn't it?
Aye, maybe could have put it on there for Callum McGregor to follow him when the guy nearly broke his ankle.
Okay, so let's talk about the game. Starting lineup, Brian. Were you surprised by any of this?
I was delighted that Jamesy got the shirt, and pretty much, very happy with it. I mean, Scales, I wouldn't have had him in there, but obviously the manager knows better than me. But delighted to see James Forrest in.
Yeah. So he stuck with Scales, started McGregor, and went with Forrest. Did that give you confidence, Ian, or did you think Scales had to be out of there?
I've kind of given up hoping. Like Roger has a different opinion on some of the players. I think you're just trying to bait me into saying Rocky, Gav. I mean, like, I'm just constantly surprised that Scales is there. I mean, like, we'll come on to it, but credit, he did put a good block in, but it's just there's no secret that everything comes down that left-hand side. I thought Forrest probably deserved an opportunity, given that Maeda is out and given how he did in the cup semi rather. And I think I don't know. I'm a bit puzzled why Ida isn't starting, because we play like a team that is looking for an Ida, like a target man. So I don't know, I can't second guess that. But I mean, it was much of a muchness, right? You were like kind of fine. It's going to be a tight game. Let's see how we go. The good thing is about this stage of the season versus probably majority of it is that we do have options on the bench. That's the big difference.
And then this was the Dundee team, Bill. I don't know if you know many of these players really, but I sort of felt like I got to learn a fair bit about them because a few of them put in a really good shift.
I thought that there was two players in that team that stuck out a mile for me. One was the left back, or wasn't he a left back? Was he? Is it Dodgson? Is it? Was he left back? Anyhow, McCowan's the best player on the team. He's a very, very good midfielder. He's 26, 27-year-old. I was on the huddle board right after the game, and some of the boys knows his family, and he's a Celtic man. He went to Notre Dame school and different things like that. So I think that's a boy we should be looking at. And quite honestly, sometimes we go and look at players abroad and we think we'll bring in a midfielder. But that guy's playing week in, week out for Dundee, and he's usually their best player. So he's tried and tested in the league we play in. So I think it's worth a look at that boy, especially considering players coming to the end of their career, like say McGregor and guys like that. And it's a Scottish thing again. Terry keeps the quota right, So it's a good. I think it's a boy we can look at. And the left back was swinging balls in left, right, and centre, which our left back doesn't do. So I thought Dundee played really well. I think the park helped them. I thought the park was very dry, very bumpy. And I was happy with the starting 11, but as the game progressed, I was looking for Ida quite quickly because I thought this is not a game for Kyogo.
Well, let's talk about how the game progressed. We'll go through some incidents here. On 6 minutes, this is Nicholas Kuhn had a shot that was saved quite smartly down to the keeper's right. Brian, do you recall that?
Yeah, I started taking notes yesterday, Gav, and I found for change, and then I quickly gave up after 12 minutes because I was missing everything. I was just writing. Yeah, what I saw from the start of the game was just from 0 minutes to 1 was Jamesy Forrest burst of pace, and CCV had put a nice ball up to him. In terms of this passage of play, I just put down Kuhn shot on target. That's my notes for that one. So again, what I learned from going through and taking these stills is that we had quite a lot of chances in the first half, actually, far more than I remembered.
Nicholas Kuhn. Then there was this one, Taylor at the back post after a Scales header. Ian, you remember this?
Yes.
I've got two pictures of this. This is the first one to show Scales winning the ball, and he nods it onto the far post, and then Taylor heads it back across. Go ahead.
We had quite a bright maybe first 15, 20 minutes and seemed like in control. I thought Kuhn was lively. You know, I think he took the shot. I think that was his delivery. And that one there that you're showing there, that was a kind of like, you know, a little bit of luck and that would go in. So I think we kind of had that. And I think during the first 15, 20 minutes, you kind of felt, okay, we look quite lively. We've got it together here. And then it just... descended into the usual. I think
descending.
But we got to this. This is the story of our season, right? Is capitalizing on that kind of early momentum.
Absolutely. Hatate effort. Do you remember this, Bill? Jumped up and he tries to kick it while in midair.
Aye, I remember that.
It just went wide.
I think most of those chances were in the first 15, 20 minutes. Am I right in saying that?
Well, this is 23.
I think that's what I mean. That first 15 minutes, we looked like a Celtic team that was going to run over the top of Dundee. But then we went into that phase again where we always going to kind of let the team. Teams have got to come back into the game. There's two teams on the park, but I think we just let teams in for too long. I noticed an interesting statistic. I don't know if you've seen it, Gav, where Dundee had the most shots in target in that game than any other team in any game this season.
Well, apparently so. This is something that Ian shared with us. That they had four big chances, and 4 of them were missed by Dundee. And you shared this. Were you surprised to see this statistic, or what was your purpose in sharing?
No, not really. There's an app. I forget the name of the app, and it's like you can spin anything like XG and stats and everything like that.
Right.
But I do think sometimes going online and seeing these sort of things gives you a bit of an indicator of it. And the big chances missed, I think, is always the interesting one, because it does show you there. Like, I think Dundee's ones were all from corners. I think Scales got a block and a Bakayoko, but there was also things from corners, and it could have been so different. And I thought we'd played better than the statistics, but sometimes I go back and have a look to kind of try and temper myself and have a look at it. And I think it's probably reflective, even though some of those chances, you know, they're a big chance in terms of how the analytics company qualify it. Sometimes it's different when you see it with your eyes, right? Because you're like, well, that was a difficult header.
Let's see if we can spot their 4 big chances in the stills and see if I even bothered to save them. I think this is possibly one. This is on 24 minutes, a high ball to the far post. Bakayoko shoots tamely at Hart. Is that a big chance?
I would say that's a big
chance. Was Hatate's not a big chance?
Yeah, but it's a slightly different one. Hatate's trying to outside the ball, put the boot, and he's running into that to strike that low and hard and get that in. I think there was a statistic on the Sky feed that came up, I think near the end of the first half, and it basically showed that half the attack from Dundee was going down the left. They were obviously targeting Taylor and Scales, and this was a symptom of that, because that ball just came over into that left position. He's unmarked there, and I would say, see if we had someone like, see if Kyogo's coming onto that, or Ida, or someone, you would expect someone with a bit more composure to be able to at least get that on target. And I personally, I do think that's a big chance and an opportunity missed.
And then 29 minutes, your boy James Forrest's goal, his first goal after an O-like touch from Kyogo. Tries to trap it and it spins off him like he's a pinball machine component. But Brian, I remember you saying a few weeks ago that Forrest was going to be the main man, and I sort of sniggered at you and was like, "He's not going to be the main man. What are you on about?" Well, he was the main man yesterday.
I just think his awareness, being in the right place at the right time. It's almost like a Aaron Moy from last year. And again, he takes the chances, and again, a wonderful goal. Absolute, I think it was he was on for the perfect hat trick, but he obviously only scored 2, left side, right side. But yeah, just brilliant. Knowing to be in the right place, right time, just fabulous. I love the guy. He's a great player. I think he's going to stay on as a coach.
Oh no, I'm glad we come to Ian for this one. Now I know we're doing a VAR thing here and using a still, which we shouldn't. But Ian, talk to us about this challenge and whether you think
this is ludicrous.
Did a great job. Yeah.
The fact the referee's looking at it and doesn't even give it a yellow, let alone anything else. Like if you, and again, this is what I go back to in terms of if you look across 11 out of the 12 clubs, if 11 out of the 12 clubs make this challenge, then it goes in reviews. But when it comes to us, we just seem to, teams get away with this. There was a statistic that I saw with our games against Beaton when refereeing Rangers and us. When he referees Rangers, the majority of his yellow cards for the opposition come in the first 30 minutes. For us, to the opposition, they're in the last 30 minutes. It makes a massive difference. That there, Cal McGregor is half fit, and he didn't have a good game, but stuff like that, you don't know what sort of impact that has. And if you're not even given a yellow from that, what is the next challenge up from that for a guy? It's a leg breaker. So I just think, again, it's that well-worn route of like the referees, and we're refereed to a different standard. I kind of got to get away from that. I don't think it's so much that Celtic are refereed to different standard. I think games involving us are refereed to different standard, and I think the rest of the league in general is refereed to a different standard. And I think there's distinctions within that, and this is just a symptom of it. We could probably pick, a good, 10 or 12 of these from this season, but at least they would maybe have gotten a yellow. The fact that isn't even a yellow is madness.
And the commentator said that VAR couldn't intervene to give a yellow. It's only in the case of whether it's an argument.
There is an argument for a red there. There is, like, do you know what I mean? I mean, if you look at Yang's one that he got a red for, okay, it's Yang's was the high boot because the intent there and it's dangerous play. You cannot look at Yang incident and this incident and say, "Oh, Yang, definite red card because that's dangerous play." No one looks at those two, so there's no consistency there,
Or the Butland incident. I mean, if that's not dangerous play where he actually shoemakers the guy,
Well, Joe Hart gets sent off for the same thing, didn't he? He was in a season under Ange. I don't know if it was last season or the season before. Joe Hart cleaned out someone, and it wasn't he was last man, but it was considered dangerous play. I think it might have been Motherwell. I can't remember what it was, and he got the red card. So it's just, we really need AI to get to the stage that we can just ask it to be unbiased and look at all these incidents, because I'm sure they'll be able to put something together.
And if you want some more unfair refereeing, Bill, do you recall this push on Kuhn in the corner?
Well, that was ridiculous. I mean, the commentator actually said it was a shoulder charge.
Yeah.
But it was a shoulder charge into his chest. It wasn't a shoulder to shoulder. So if you're a Celtic player and you got a shoulder charge coming at you, you can be shoulder charged anywhere in your body then. It's not going to be shoulder. My understanding of that rule, tell me if I'm wrong, it's shoulder to shoulder. Is that right? It should be.
There's a little bit of tussle. A little bit of tussle, like arms.
Yeah. But I mean, he turns around and he
took him out, dodging, wasn't it? Your guy dodging.
I mean, and it's just blatant. It's like, I mean, 64. I've been saying this for 50 years.
Yeah.
It's just when is Celtic Football Club going to stand up and be counted with this stuff? Really? I mean, when are we going to turn around and say, sit down with some information, some data, and say, look, this needs to change? No, if it's screaming and shouting and bawling and sounding paranoid, with facts and figures, it's
we need to get other clubs involved and make it
because it happens. It's like Ian said, Ian sums it up pretty perfectly. It's not always about Celtic. It's the other team in Glasgow, whoever they play, and the decisions that happen there. The timings of bookings. Look at the booking of the goalkeeper at the weekend there. How often have I been to Celtic Park and watched goalkeepers wasting time?
Yeah.
and nothing happens. And the same referee.
Motherwell this season was particular. I don't know if you remember the Motherwell game.
Liam Kelly, who played for Rangers, by the way, and he just does what he wants, and it just go like that. That's enough. No, nothing else happens.
Well, nothing else did happen in the first half, so let's turn our attention to the second half. This was the first incident that I've got saved is on 49 minutes. Portale's chance after a high looping free kick from Dodgson or whatever his name was. His name Dodgson. I wonder, does this go down as a good chance? He kind of just swung his leg at it without any sort of directional purpose.
This is where the difference. These are where the difference in quality kind of comes across. Dundee are creating the chances, but they don't have the players to kind of, because you need to be quite athletic to be able to kind of get. It's a good chance if you can get your body right and set yourself. That's a big chance. But I think Dundee obviously didn't have that sort of player to be able to do it.
Do you have the athleticism to convert that, Ian?
I don't think I've ever had the athleticism to convert that, Gav. I think I just more chance of me doing myself a danger, doing an injury.
I repeat, okay. Dundee played really well. I thought they played well against us. You've got to give credit where it's due.
Well, definitely at the start of the second half, they came out of the traps. It took us a full 15 minutes until the substitutions. In fact, they had the better of the game, no doubt.
And Gav, when did you think the substitution should have come, Gav? Because we were discussing in the CSC and we were like, it was literally about 5 minutes into that second half. We'd already said if that midfield doesn't improve, because we were playing like a team that had Ida in the team, and you were just like, why we continue to play with us without a target man?
Well, I don't know. Sometimes it seems like managers are physically incapable of doing anything until the clock says 6-0, and then suddenly they spring into action. But let's look at these first few 15 minutes of the second half. This was a brilliant chance, which was ultimately cleared by Scales. This fella here, I think it just looped the ball up and over to these two onrushing fellas, and it looked like a certain goal, didn't it? Until Scales got the foot in.
I think that was the best defensive move of the game for Celtic, but actually the guy was called offside as well, so it wouldn't have counted. But it doesn't matter because Scales was really good there in that moment, I think.
Yeah, look, we'll talk about Scales later, especially about like the perception of him and how there's two camps and they can never meet in the middle, it seems. But we're going to talk about that in a while. Let's carry on with these incidents. This is a McGee header after another Dodgson in-swinging corner. This was another one that I'm pretty sure would have gone down as a good chance. A free header in the 6-yard box there, but straight into the welcoming embrace of Joe Hart. So do you remember this? I mean, they had lots of attempts on goal, which were saved, but incredibly easily.
Mm-hmm. I think as what Bill was saying, it's the quality. They had a couple of good opportunities, but they didn't have the people, the quality to take the chance. And that's the difference. It goes straight into Joe Hart's arms, which is meat and drink every day,
So the worry is if teams with a better quality than Dundee can get chances like that against us, what are we going to do then? And that's my worry because Hearts are third in the league. And
Shankland,
don't worry, Bill. Be happy.
Listen, I'm allowed to be worried. I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic about the winning the league, but I'm allowed to be worried, surely.
Okay, I'll allow you to be a wee bit worried. Here is Forrest winning the ball, giving it to Hatate, and then Hatate passes it through to Forrest. For some reason, the two defenders have a total brain fart moment and run into each other. And I bet you he couldn't believe it when he looked down and the ball was at his feet. Brian,
the thing there is James Forrest is one of the few ones of our wingers that is going to stay in his feet there instead of trying to look for a penalty that they're not going to get or a free kick they're not going to get. One of the good things about, and Brendan Rodgers has talked about it, is the way that he protects the ball. And that also comes into his knowledge of when to actually go down for that free kick and actually when to realise it, to stay in your feet and try and make the most of the situation. And I think Forrest is very good at that. And that was that incident right there. Instead of, I genuinely think if that was Kuhn, Maeda, Palmer especially, I think they would just go down wanting the referee to make a decision where Forrest knows, I can't rely on that because I've been over the course. If I can stay on my feet and get a shot off, that's much more valuable.
It's an interesting point. I don't know, Bill, if you've been watching us long enough to know that we sometimes do these little musical tributes. Have you ever heard us do?
I think I might have seen one of them. Aye.
Well, we did one for wee Jamesy Forrest, and I think if now is not the time to celebrate him, when is? So
let's see it.
You're very welcome, everyone, to enjoy this. James the winger, shirt with coat hanger, with Jacinta gone, he's got the roundest bum. Give him a hand though, he loves his Nando's. With a bunch of lads, not Craig Gordon's girl. All he ever wanted was to be selected to play for Celtic. Forward to present, he's now a legend. Ton of goals and assists. We Jamesy Forrest.
People have missed that.
Thank you very much, Michael Ross.
Are you was singing there, Gav?
It was, yeah.
It was very good. Well, it was good. I'm going to go overboard. I'm going to keep rewinding and say it was all right. It's going to get worse. Just leave it at that.
We Jamesy Forrest there to the tune of Depeche Mode, or in the style of Depeche Mode. You like a bit of Depeche Mode, Bill?
He had the strip on in one of the clips there too. This is a classic, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a James Forrest strip you're wearing, Bill.
It is, isn't it?
First player I think of when I see that strip.
It's funny how that happens with strips, isn't it? You see a strip and you think you're a player, It's strange that, Brian, but it does happen.
Okay, 72 minutes. Rio Hatate hits the post. That's the kind of thing you could forget about. We had so many chances. We really did. I think we played pretty well for periods. Obviously, this is after the substitutes came on. So the second 15-minute block of the second half, we were excellent.
Again,
Ida changed the game because you had someone that was actually up there running the channels, holding up the ball, and I think it
giving them an out.
Yeah, and I think, do you know what? Iwata, not flashy, but actually just went in and settled things down. McGregor looked a lot off the pace. We talked earlier about McCowan was running Callum McGregor ragged just based on like the athleticism, and I think Iwata just kind of muted that. I think this chance this wouldn't be classed as a big chance when you look at those statistics because Hatate still got a lot to do. I mean, it's a good chance and it's unfortunate, but it's kind of when we're talking about the big chances, if Hatate was coming onto that ball with Bakayoko at the back post, is he going to put that in? That's the difference in those.
It made a real great noise, though, didn't it, Brian, when it hit the post? It was a proper dunt.
Yeah, it's beautiful. He didn't go in.
It was reverberating around the waterlogged pitch underneath. That's what it was.
But then our good spell came to a sudden end with the rather unfortunate concession of a goal from a pretty weak shot. There was another corner from Dodgson. Well, they had loads of corners and they're very effective at them, actually. But nobody to really finish them, I think, as we've mentioned.
We are very ineffective at defending them, Gav, I think, is probably... because every team we come up against seems to be very effective at corners. So I think if that's a case of either not getting out, by the way, that's just a forward. And that because everyone else is pushed up because they know you've got to push that line up. whereas Ida's more programmed, isn't he, to kind of wait for the ball and the goal. So I think it's just unfortunate. And Joe Hart had it covered as well.
Yeah, seldom would I agree when people say Joe Hart had it covered, but I think he definitely did there.
Player of the season, Gav.
Player of the season. That's all I've got for the highlights. I don't think much happened after that, except for the fact that they got a goal, and then it was against the run of play, but it made for a nervy last 15 minutes.
Absolutely.
Some
See the frame,
long
the frame,
throws.
the frame that you showed there with Adam Ida, and
Mhm.
that sums up the benefits and the drawbacks of a centre forward defending at a corner.
Yeah.
So he's in there for his height, which is great. But see, as soon as the ball breaks, he's the last guy to run out because it's no instinctive. So he's standing there. So if anybody's kicking about, they could have been onside, but they weren't. There was nobody in front, you know what? But I think that's the drawback of a centre forward. You've got to take that because the benefit is he's one of the very few that's good in the air, isn't he? You need him in there. So
did anyone think there was too much injury time? Where did he get the 5 minutes from?
No, I think we were having a discussion. I think we said 5 seemed like what he would give. I think the additional ones, like we've covered the time wasting that everyone does against us. We had added on. Very rarely do I see it added on to that 5. Some people were worried it might be 7. Very inconsistent because you're meant to add in 30 seconds for a yellow card, 30 seconds for a different substitution. So I think this comes back to none of us know. Like, do you know what I mean? Because there's no consistency as to how they're applying it because they're given a little bit of leeway. And I think it varies game to game, team to team.
I think you're right. I think that's true.
By the way, the one thing I would say at the end of the match, Gav, is, and I don't know how someone hasn't straightened him out, but I don't know what Palmer was doing with 3 minutes left to go, cutting in, trying to score a worldie instead of retaining that ball.
Yeah.
I just do not like. There's some things that some of these players are doing that just seems absolutely crazy, and I don't understand how John Kennedy, even or Rodgers, is not saying to him, right, see if we're 2-1 and it's the last 3 minutes. You do, unless you are have a really good scoring opportunity, do not lose that ball because that's just indiscipline. Gives the ball back to them, they punt it up the field, and we're in danger again.
Game looking back, Lee Griffiths was the master at that. Just standing the corner flag, running the clock down, just making it difficult.
We're in a title race.
Yeah.
So I'm not do you know what I mean? If someone's taking that ball into the corner for the last 3 minutes at Dens Park, I don't care. I don't care at the moment.
Well, that's a good comment for Pete McGee there that you've put up because our arch nemesis, Mr. Boyd, made a comment which I thought was very valid at the end of the game. Chris Boyd, he said, this is a team who held Rangers to a draw a few weeks ago here. He says, Celtic didn't play well and found a way to win. So that's a perspective for somebody that doesn't support Celtic. So they might go, they're getting fed up with us winning games we shouldn't win, So hopefully that continues. Good point.
We weren't great, but we weren't terrible either.
No, that's what I'm saying.
We're quite good at in parts.
I think the problem is it's consistent. It's consistent things that are happening that we can all see and we all think should be able to be solved on a training pitch, rightly or wrongly. I mean, I know Rodgers is the one that's on them, but there's just things that were we need. Why are we having this same performance again? I think we said when I was in the pod last Thursday, Gav, I said, look, Dundee did play well against Rangers and we'll have a tough time. And I do worry about that game. And they did play well. But the problem didn't come really from them playing well. It came from the deficiencies that we've seen from our team all season. And I think that's why people have a bit of a feeling of being pessimistic. Because if you take the opposition out of it, whichever game we play, it's the same opportunities that we give up. It's the same things we're doing wrong. And I think it's more about that than not giving credit to Dundee or not saying Dundee are a good team. I think it's just very easy to exploit our weaknesses if you've got a semi-competent manager on the other side.
Well, I'm not pessimistic at all. We're taking another massive step closer to the title. Our next 2 games are at home.
I would
And
only say the only thing I think we're missing, Gav, here in this conversation today is at the midfield misfiring. I think that's
Yeah.
when we started to
Yeah.
lose a place in the game. But 3 midfielders just suddenly disappeared, I felt. After we
Yeah.
had 4 or 5 chances in the first 20 minutes. And they're in and out the game and in and out the game. You know, so my thinking is if Callum McGregor's not 100% fit by Saturday, then you've got to think about Awata, you know.
sure.
O'Reilly wasn't great. I didn't think O'Reilly did
No,
a
he
great
wasn't.
game.
He was poor. He was
Yeah.
I didn't think Scales had a good game, but a lot of people thought he did.
Yeah, I thought he had a poor
I-
game. Yeah.
I think Hatate is the one that we kind of have to carry Hatate a little bit because he's the one that's going to try more stuff and lose the ball. But if you've got an ineffectual O'Reilly and you've got an ineffectual Callum McGregor, that's when Hatate suffers the most because he's not, you know, if they have a dip, there's not someone to compensate for him, and we can't. Hatate's almost got an element of being a luxury player about him for that. So
Yeah.
I agree. It might. I think we'll see Callum McGregor. You know, we will see him against Hearts maybe for his leadership. But I would like to see Awata and maybe O'Reilly dropped and keep McGregor in there because I do like O'Reilly and he's had very good parts of this season. But he just seems to be getting. I saw a tweet from someone that said Atletico Madrid aren't going to be in the summer, and I think unfortunately that's probably true.
Well, their midfield had a lot of sort of power and dynamism about it that we were completely lacking. And you hear this spoken about quite a lot. Like Luke McCann looked like a young McGregor, the way he was moving the ball quickly and intelligently. And
Yeah,
there's a
definitely.
guy, the big fella, Silla, surprise, had a Laura influence
Good
in
player.
midfield.
I think he was on a blind date.
That's right. It was on a blind date. Aye.
And I said, what about the pressing of Tiffany, Brian?
The Tiffany lamb behind me, yeah, I thought he did well. Tiffany, you know, another squad player potentially for us. I would take him and Bobby Yoko.
Tiffany's
Here's
the guy
it.
I was thinking. Aye, but I mean,
Here, with all this talk of us needing a big, powerful midfielder, I see Bosun Lawal is being talked about a lot.
He's
look at
slow as a week in jail. Once he gets back and people see him pre-season, right, they're going to be asking for better quality. Look, I'm sorry. He's playing for Fleetwood Town. We're seeing clips of him. It's the same. Look, I would like to give him an opportunity, you know, because he has moved from centre-back into midfield, so maybe that makes a bit of a difference. But I do tend to think we get a bit teary-eyed about players that are out on loan, you know, turning in performances for you know, like Mikey Johnson at West Brom and stuff. It's a different level. I think he should definitely be given an opportunity, 100%. But it's the same thing with McCowan, right? He does look good playing in Dundee. It's a completely different level to come up to us and then expect him to be Champions League and things like that. Because Scales is fine for the SPFL if he had a good left back beside him. But if he doesn't have a good left back, it kind of all falls down. So we need to manage those sort of situations and how are we signing these players and integrating them.
Well, let's talk about Scales. I had a little look on Twitter and I took 2 snippets on Twitter. One which is negative towards Scales. Liam Scales just puts the ball in the air aimlessly, puts us under pressure. What percentage of his passes actually complete? Says somebody else. Our defence is a shambles, so weak. Feel for CCV being surrounded by the likes of Liam Scales. James Forrest trying to save the season. Liam Scales trying to ruin it. This is all in the aftermath of that game, where I thought Liam Scales had a very good game. Fitzy, he says, talking about the number of clearances from Liam Scales. And he put in a tremendous display along with the other defenders. Man of the match by some distance is this fella. Liam Scales was excellent today. Huh?
It's a family member of Liam Scales, that one is saying man of the match, if you're giving that over Jamesy.
Yeah, well, that's true.
I agree.
But hopefully,
Liam Scales divides opinion. As I said earlier, when I say I don't think he did a great game, I think he played well. I don't think it was brilliant. I thought he played well. I don't think he'd done anything that anybody could point to him and say, oh, that was terrible. Or he had a couple of moments where the ball was up in the air, but you know, that happens in a game of football. You know, sometimes you've just got to clear your lines and do things like that, you know. So, he's doing okay, but that left side of your defence, we all know that that's a weakness, and so does every other team, unfortunately.
I think the thing is, and I alluded to it there, because I don't think Scales isn't as awful as people make out. He's not as good. The truth is somewhere in between. The problem is that when he is next to Taylor, that's kind of two of those level of players next to each other. It was kind of like under Ange when Ralston came in, but Ralston came in, it was CCV next to him and Starfelt in the middle, and he had Maeda in front of him. We can kind of cope with a player of the level of Scales and Taylor if there's a bit more quality around them. And I just think at the moment Scales kind of suffers from having Taylor beside him, and then CCV struggles from looking on that side and seeing Scales and Taylor beside him. I do think they're fine for the SPFL, but we need more quality in there to help them, because it's a clear weakness. Everyone targets it.
I can't see Rodgers changing though, Ian. It's the only thing he'd not bring Lagerbielka or Nawrocki in.
He'll 100% be signing a centre half though, Brian. I'm telling you.
I think Brian's right. I think everybody agrees with what you're saying, Ian. We know we need improvement in that side, but we've got what we've got for the rest of the season. And I think to change it now would be more detrimental than beneficial.
No, he should have changed it when Rocky came in and had a good game. Do you know what I mean? There's been a couple of opportunities, but there's just something that he doesn't like him. So
I'll ask you the question: do you think he's going to change it?
No.
It's
the same reason I know that Calmac's going to start against
exactly.
Hearts.
It's the exact same thing. But you know what? He's a manager, and he'd tell the kit man where to go, and he'd tell us where to go as well. Sure, if we got a chance. If you're listening, Brendan,
you'd probably batter me.
You can tell us where to go.
Let's close out the chat about the game on a positive note. Did you notice this? The happiest fan in the whole stadium yesterday. This fella, this James Forrest.
I did see that guy in the crowd. I've never seen a scarf like that for years. They used to be in the 80s. They were pretty popular. These scarves with players' faces on them. I've not seen that for years.
So happy. That was great.
Yeah.
So 3 points and up the road. Happy days.
That's it.
We're not a great side, but we still might win the league. We're still in a good, strong position to do so.
We will win the league. We will win the league. We will win the league.
The Biggies have us at 2-9 to win the league.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we will win the league. I really do think that. But as I said, this just stopped me. I've got a heart condition, as I told you before, so it's not getting any better watching it.
Yeah.
That's the only
thing. It's time to look back to a day when your heart was considerably younger, Bill, as you talk us through some of these picks.
Okay.
And tell us about your CSC. What's the name of the CSC?
It doesn't exist anymore because it broke up. But it was at its height in the 90s when we were terrible. It was a View Park, Jimmy Johnson, number 7. And Jimmy Johnson, we used to have dances in the castle rooms in Uddingston. And Jinky, they're a 40 for one of the days, the nights. You see me at the back here, a bit younger, still with the same hairstyle, of course. That's, as you know, that's a great Bobby Murdoch and Jinky in the middle there. So that was a photograph, and the Irish man in the background. So that was the kind of guys that we had coming to our dances. We had Lisbon Lions. We also used to have Bertie Auld. He would come in. He was like an act. Bertie would. We had like a tap table with the president, the chairman, the 3 Lisbon Lions, George McCluskey, and the parish priest. He was there as well. So we had some fantastic nights with the guys, man. Honestly, they were so good. That's in a pub called Caesars up the road from me there. So that'll be 40 took just to let you see that if you ever come past that way, it's worth a wee visit. Caesars pub in Uddingston View Park. And that's the tap table that I spoke about. You see Jimmy Johnson there beside pal Johnny, who's dead now, God rest him, and Jimmy, Bertie, Bobby Murdoch. The other side of me, while I'm picking my nose, is George McCluskey. You don't see him. But we were very fortunate. I mean, how many clubs could say they had 3 players like that sitting at their dances?
That's excellent.
Pure legends, And that was just Big George presenting the raffle at one of our dances there too. So a couple of my mates there with him. So we had all the guys at the dues, and we to say I knew Jimmy Johnstone, and you say that in View Park, and it's nothing. It's really nothing to boast about, because a lot of people knew Jimmy, and Jimmy knew a lot of people. He never forgot his roots. He always come back to his local pub that we drank in, and in fact, when he was starting to lose the power of his arms, he was in the pub and asked me to tie his laces one night. And I always remember him sitting, and he put his foot up in the chair, his right foot. I had it there, and I've got his foot in my two hands. And for that moment, I looked at his foot and I went, I'm holding the most famous foot in the history of Celtic Football Club here. That moment, you just go, what? Although I knew him, I'm like, and the boys are like, look at Bill tying Jimmy's laces. I said, you just told me I couldn't lace his boots when I played for the school. I'm doing it now, that's all.
Very good.
But that was one story. And then another time, I worked with a guy, and the guy was a Rangers supporter. His name was Robert Vincent. Robert, if he hears this, he'll not mind me mentioning it. But he was a great admirer of Jimmy Johnstone, Robert. Even though he's a Rangers fan, he said to me, he was the greatest winger I've ever seen. And me and him walked into the local, and there was Jimmy sitting one night. And he's awestruck, the guy's awestruck, he's like, do you think you could introduce me to him? I said, I ain't bother, Robert. So he walks there, and I said, Jimmy, this is Robert Vincent. He's a Rangers supporter, but he's a great admirer of yourself and that. And I say, that's great. So I sort of left him, and the guy shakes Jimmy's hands, and I turn away, and I just get about 2 yards away, and I'll hear me Jimmy saying to Robert, who the fuck is he anyway? How you put in your place? Who the fuck is that, Robert? I don't know him.
Patrick McLaughlin says, I met Jimmy at a special place that's helped me stay my best for 13 years. Good man, Patrick.
There.
Congratulations. Yeah, was he as much of a character as everybody says? Like Robert Duvall talks about him.
Jimmy Johnstone
he was amazing.
Much of a character, but you know what he was? You know what he was, and maybe a lot of people don't realise? He was the most humble person as far as his skills you could ever have met. All he did was want to talk. See, when he spoke of players he played against, Rangers players that kicked him up and down the park, he had nothing but respect for them. He seen that was their job, and he really didn't. He just used to say, he was a great big guy, Bill. If you'd knew him off the park, he always made the excuses for guys that kicked him all over the place. He was just one of the humble guys when it came to his achievements and his football. And when he got back to View Park, along with all us, he used to say, I just love being in amongst the View Park boys, He liked
Di Stefano loved him. Alfredo Di Stefano loved him.
Di Stefano, aye. There's other stories that maybe aren't for this forum, I believe, but nothing too serious. But Jimmy was funny and all. He was good fun. He was a good laugh, and he was great for us. He went to all our dances, and he always turned up. He always wrote the Lisbon lines with him, and the memories for that for us were phenomenal. The photos are testament to that, aren't they? The photographs I showed you,
Yeah, what I was thinking is, in light of Jamesy Forrest having had such a great game and everyone singing his praises and his longevity and all of that, I was thinking, is it disrespectful that people call him wee Jamesy Forrest as opposed to James Forrest? And then I thought, well, people still say wee Jimmy Johnstone, and they say that with nothing but love and respect for his achievements.
Exactly. Aye, he was a real character, was Jimmy.
Very good. All right, well, that was a nice little trip down memory lane there, Bill. Are you happy we live in a day now where having a chrome dome is more accepted?
It is good, that, isn't it? But I think when I see some of the hair weaves and the hair pieces that people get there, I think I might have indulged in that in my younger days, if it had been as good then. But the wigs in the days looked as if a cat had jumped your head and fell asleep.
Yeah, I can't imagine ever wearing a wig.
I have to say, I did think about it at one time, but
did you? Yeah.
When you seen people with them on, you just thought, as I say, it looked like a dead cat or something and fell asleep there, But nowadays,
Jimmy White, Jimmy White was advertising the over 60 snooker there, and God love him. He's got a real bad one.
George, I've still got his order of service in the background there. You can see it if I move the right way. Oh, where am I? Right up there. you can't maybe see it for the distance, but that's his order of service in that frame. That was a birthday present I got for my brother-in-law. He got a few things off Jimmy and put them in a frame for my 50th many years ago.
Very good. Well, look, we better move it on. We've just gone over the hour, so let's do a little bit of Celtic social media. This is from a Twitter feed called glasgowceltic. I don't know if anyone knows that guy. Win 2 games and we're champions. The games. Talk us through that, Ian.
Yeah, I know. I just saw a lot. It's one of those things that gets a bit throwaway on Twitter. You see people saying, "Oh, 2 games and we're champions," because there'd need to be like the reality would be if we beat Rangers 1-0 and we beat Hearts or whatever. The goal swing's kind of too much. But they're two very if you hear someone say 2 games and we're champions, you're like, "Oh yeah, 2 games and we're champions." And it's like, who's it against? Hearts and Rangers. It's the 2 most difficult games. So yes, 2 games and we're champions. But let's be realistic. It's not 2 games against the fodder. It's 2 games against the other best teams in the league. And we don't even know who's refereeing them yet, which is also can also affect it.
I still think we're up for the challenge. Here we go. Actor Stephen Graham, Brian, at Glasgow Celtic in 2013. He's so happy.
Yeah, I just saw this this morning, and there's big Chris in the background there. Stephen Graham, loving being there for the Celtic charity match. And then when he sees Bobo, the size of
This
Bobo.
always happens when I go to play this bloody things.
That's a guy in the line of duty, both on it. Excuse me. Look at the size of Bobo. Jesus Christ.
Massive.
Yeah.
And just to add to that a little bit, I don't know if you can read that. Probably not.
I can see it.
Graham played on the pitch at Paradise during Stilian Petrov's charity match in September 2013. Here he crossed paths with Henrik Larsson, an encounter he'll never forget. He added, "Playing at Celtic Park itself was a real buzz and one of the best moments of my life. In the dressing room, I was tying my laces. I had a pair of Adidas World Cups on, and my bottle had gone. I was once a decent little player, but going on that turf was a different story. I was tying my laces and I looked to my right and spotted the exact same boots as me. I thought to myself, all right, nice one. I looked up the socks, up the body, and I saw the face. It was Henrik Larsson. He just looked at me and said, nice boots. And I said, cheers, mate."
That's a good story.
A good wee story, isn't it?
That's a good story. It definitely is.
And, this is just something I saw. David De Gea still doesn't have a club.
Aye, I know.
Something going on there, though, isn't there? I mean, I don't know what it is, but there's no way a player of David De Gea's quality goes through a whole season and isn't picked up by any club in world football. So I wonder if it's some sort of medical condition that makes him a bit unreliable, or some sort of pay agreement with Man United, or something that has to be something. He's too good a goalkeeper to, because he's not even that old for a keeper either, is he, Gabby? I think he's about 34.
That's my thoughts. Is it same, Ian? I think there must be something in the background that we don't know about. Maybe it's probably come down to money. It usually does. Nothing wrong with asking the question, but Gav.
Say that again?
There's nothing wrong with asking the question if you're Celtic.
Yeah. Well, that's what I think as well,
Mm-hmm.
But I suspect we're going to be going for somebody younger,
Maybe.
with a few more years ahead of them. Now, as I was setting all that stuff up, I was trying to make one screen bigger, and I've only succeeded in making the StreamYard control panel incredibly small, and I can't seem to get it back. So I'm just going to say thank you very much to everyone in the comments. There's been a lot of chat there going on. I hope everyone's feeling good. We're one step closer to the league.
Only 2
And
games
next
left to
2
go, Gav.
games, well, possibly. Quite possibly.
It's possible.
I wouldn't
Let's-
bet against it.
No. I think what Brian said is quite good, that we're 92 on to win this league. So the bookies don't usually get it wrong, do they?
The bookies never get it wrong. Bill.
They don't.
Never.
They don't ever get it wrong. So hopefully they definitely don't get it wrong this time.
Thank you, George. I hope everyone's playing nicely in the comments there. I see there's a bit of back and forth going on. I hope it's all meant in what's the expression?
Oh,
Good.
yes.
Humor.
In jest.
I hope it's all meant in jest.
See that,
Right.
mhm.
Bill, thank you very much for joining us again. It was nice.
Sure,
to
let me
see you back.
Anytime you need me or you want me, just give us a call. I'll be there.
Good man. Well, let me just hide that and say Ian in Wales. Ian, you're in Wales, but not from Wales. I saw there was a bit of conversation in the comments
No.
about that as well.
No, not from Wales. Not from Wales. The accent might give it away, but I don't know. I've got nondescript Scottish accent from virtue of going Arbroath, Aberdeen, Dundee, and Glasgow. It's a mix that makes me sound like I'm from Edinburgh, unfortunately. No offense to anyone from Edinburgh, but not for me.
All right, guys. Well, look, until next time, let's keep our peckers up and look forward to the run into the season.
Hail, hail.
All right, everyone.
Hail, hail.
Hail,
See you
hail.
guys.
Bye-bye.